On January 31, 1921, the Coast Guard spotted a five-masted schooner aground off North Carolina, sails still fully set. When they finally reached her, all 11 of her crew were gone, but dinner was still sitting on the stove. The Carroll A. Deering was a genuine giant of her era, one of the last great wooden schooners built in America, launched in 1919 at a shipyard in Bath, Maine, 5 towering masts under the command of Captain Willis Warmell. In January 1921, she was returning from a cargo run to Rio de Janeiro, bound for Norfolk, Virginia. A routine commercial voyage her experienced captain had made many times before without incident. On January 29th, she passed the Cape Lookout lightship along the North Carolina coast, one of the last points where anyone would report seeing her crew alive and moving about. Crew members were visible moving on deck, and one shouted through a megaphone that the ship had lost her anchors, asking the lightship to relay word to the owners back on shore. The lightship's keeper later noted something odd about that crewman. He didn't move or speak like a ship's officer, and by the keeper's account, English didn't seem to be his first language at all. The following evening, another passing vessel spotted the Deering near the treacherous Diamond Shoals, steering an unusually erratic course through the darkening water. That sighting would be the last confirmed time anyone saw her still underway. By the stormy morning of January 31st, a Coast Guard lookout at Cape Hatteras spotted her run hard aground on the shoals, sails still fully set, flying no distress signal of any kind. Violent seas kept Coast Guard rescue crews from safely reaching the wreck for 4 full days. When they finally managed to board her on February 4th, the ship was completely and eerily deserted. Both lifeboats were gone entirely, along with the davits that had once held them in place. The ship's navigation equipment and her official papers were missing too, yet a full hot meal sat untouched on the galley stove, with coffee still warm and ready to pour. Captain Wormel's private cabin was found in noticeable disarray. His personal log entries stopped abruptly on January 23rd, and the pages written after that date were in a different, unfamiliar hand entirely. The federal government took the case seriously almost immediately, launching a wide-reaching investigation involving the Coast Guard, the FBI, the Navy, and several federal departments, personally overseen, at points, by the Secretary of Commerce himself. Losing one ship's entire crew to a sudden storm would already be a genuine tragedy. But this particular case had one detail that pushed it well past any routine disaster at sea. Some officials involved called it fundamentally simple: a frightened crew panicking and abandoning ship during violent weather, then lost at sea in open lifeboats before any help could possibly reach them. Then, months later, a message sealed in a bottle washed ashore on the North Carolina coast, claiming the entire crew had been forcibly seized by pirates operating from another vessel nearby. That particular claim wasn't quite as easy to dismiss as it might sound at first. The lightship crew had already independently reported a suspicious unidentified steamer nearby that ignored every signal and deliberately covered its own nameplate before it vanished from sight. The storm panic theory accounts for a great deal on its own: genuinely rough seas, a damaged or lost anchor, and an understandably frightened crew choosing to abandon ship rather than risk running blind onto the shoals. It doesn't fully explain why an experienced veteran crew would choose to abandon a ship that was still demonstrably afloat, within sight of the coastline, rather than simply riding out the storm safely aboard her. And it doesn't explain why, despite an unusually extensive search effort, absolutely no trace of either lifeboat or any of the 11 missing men was ever recovered, nor why an unidentified steamer was behaving so suspiciously in those exact same waters during that same narrow window of time. This case pulled in the Coast Guard, the FBI, the Navy, and the Secretary of Commerce himself, and still ended exactly where it started: 11 men gone, and a meal no one ever came back to eat. Tell me in the comments, a storm that panicked an experienced crew, or something waiting for them in those waters that a bottle and a nameplate never fully explained. Subscribe to the Unburied. The ocean files continue from here.